Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are thrilled to have with us a wonderful guest, former cast member, Luke Toups. Luke, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be on the show.
Great. So, Luke, why don't you start by telling the people who are listening out there, how you ended up as a cast member and sort of that journey from sort of thinking about, well, maybe I might want to do this to, oh my goodness, this is really happening, right? Tell them that story, how that worked for you.
Well, pretty much what had happened was my family is huge Disney fans. Before I had worked at Disney, I had gone at least 40 times, and I'd always been a big fan of Disney, Walt Disney in particular, because me and him share something, being dyslexic. And working at Disney was something I always wanted to do, but I never thought it was something that I could honestly achieve. And throughout my schooling and all that, it was something that I kept in the background. And then one night, while I was nearing my end of my college career, I thought, before I really start my life, maybe I should give it a shot. And I toyed with the idea for a while. And then one night at 1 o'clock in the morning, I was watching a show, and the show was about, I don't know if you ever heard of it, it's an anime called Little Witch Academia, and it's about a witch who doesn't really think that, she really wants to do magic, but she's not really that good at it, but she tries really hard anyway. So I'm watching this, and I thought, you know what? Why not? I'm going to do this. So I applied online, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to get an email back. Nothing's going to happen, but I tried. A week later, I get an email back. Basically, starting the process. And throughout the entire thing, I keep thinking, okay, I'm just going to get to the next step, and it's going to stop. So I get past the email interview, I get to the phone interview, and I'm like, this is where I'm going to stop. It's going to this is it. At least I got to the phone. And then afterwards, I get an email. You're going to be at Disney in 2018. I was like, whoa. Really?
Reality sets in.
Y'all picked me. I was like, sure. I went the entire time, even when I finally even got there, because I traveled, me and my mom, one of my mom's friends' sons also got in. So we traveled as a group because I was bringing my car, so she could travel back with them. And the entire time still going there, I was expecting like an email to come in and be like, oh, whoops, we were looking for Luke A. Toups, not Luke J. Toups. Sorry about that. You are totally in the wrong spot. So that's pretty much like my journey of how I got to Disney, was doing it as a dare to myself because I love Disney so much. I just look up to Walt so much, and then eventually just a continuing step of, it's stopping here. Right. Nope, it's stopping here. Literally until I got the email the day before orientation, the day before I would go to the apartment and everything else, when they were like, hey, you're going to be on Main Street as a custodian. I was like, oh, wow, this is real. Like, that was the point. I'm like, okay, this is really happening.
That's funny.
I now work for Disney.
I can imagine showing up and go, okay, Toups, Toops, and you're like, no, Toups. And they're like, uh-oh.
Yeah,
the wrong Toups.
Like, oh no.
So Luke, was this part of a college program, or was this post-college, like as an actual full-time employee? What was that for?
Well, here's the funny thing about it. You can technically do the college program 6 months after you graduated. So I treated it like a workcation because I was in school for about 7 years. I got 3 degrees.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, after all that hard work, all that struggle, and like, I'm married now, and this was before I was getting married and everything else. It was kind of like, let me go have one good fun workcation where I'm just enjoying myself for a little bit, and then I can get right into that thing they call the real world.
Very good. You're wise beyond your years. I wish I had done that. I got out of college and I packed, UPS trucks in a warehouse. I should have thought that I could have gone to Disney and did a workcation. That would have been much more pleasant than packing UPS trucks. So,
is this a stupid question? Like, did it feel like a workcation, or was it just like hard work? Like, was it fun?
One, never think there's a stupid question. There's no stupid question except for the question unasked. But secondly, yeah, it felt like a workcation. It didn't feel too much like work. Like, there were some days, I will admit, were a little harder than others. I was a custodial cast member. There were some times I opened a bathroom stall and went, how? Why?
That's what you get free to get Pecos bills.
Walls. But,
somebody had Chipotle last night.
Yeah. But no, for the most part, I just had a lot of fun. I had a lot of great cast members who I worked with, who I had a lot of fun with, who became good friends. My roommates became like family. Two of them even were able to come to my wedding. So it felt like I said, it was a perfect workation because I did have to do things. I did have to take out the trash, clean toilets, and everything else. But then I also got to interact with guests, make them laugh.
Was it just sort of open-ended, like I'm open to whatever you have, or was there certain things along the path did you get to say, well, I think if this opportunity came up, I'd rather do this? Did you have any input on that, or was it just sort of like, hey, congratulations, come do your orientation, and oh, by the way, this is the job we're giving you?
Well, pretty much what they do for the application process is they give you the list of jobs you can do, and they say pick your top 3. Now, I picked attractions, I picked merchandise, because I didn't want to do food, and I picked custodial, because for years during college, I'd helped, earned extra money through college, being a custodial person, being maintenance, so I picked the 2 things that I would have wanted to do, and I picked the thing that I was like, if they're really serious and would like to hire me, I can lean into something I've literally been doing for years.
Right.
So that was one of the things that in my phone call, I leaned into that because they tried, asking me things about being an attractions person or being in merch, and I'd not done any of those things. They're like, so how are you with like cleaning stuff? And I'm like, I am great with that. Cleaning toilets, floors, anything you need, it will be clean, spick and span. My dad is a neat freak. It runs through my veins. Clorox just pulses through me. So that's pretty much how that kind of works. Like I would have liked to have been an attractions cast member, and it's one of those things that if I would have stayed longer, I could have probably moved on to that. But this was a workcation. I had my 5 months. I wanted to go enjoy myself. And if there was a possibility of working at Disney permanently, I would have liked that, which I actually did get, which is kind of funny.
Mm-hmm. Tell us about that. I mean, so you did your workcation. Did you have a timeline in your head that, I'm only planning on being here for a certain amount of time? And did Disney know that? Like, did you go into it with both parties knowing this is only going to be, a 5 or 6 month gig?
Well, the thing with the Disney College program, it's almost kind of a test.
Okay.
Like Disney likes to hire people within, then more so than without. So it's almost kind of like a testing ground. So if you do really good at the Disney College program, it's very easy to just get somewhere else. And pretty much what happened to me was at the end of my program, it was one of my last nights. One of my supervisors was there. And I was going around telling everybody like, hey, it was great working with y'all. Thank y'all very much. This was a great opportunity. I really enjoyed it. I'll remember this for the rest of my life. And one of my supervisors was like, so Luke, what is your plans, after you finish college? I looked at him. I'm finished college. And he said, oh, well, do you want to stay? I said, well, I wish I could stay, but I don't really see how that would be even possible. He's like, well, we could set you up with a Disney internship and everything else. Like, if you really want to stay, you can stay here.
Right.
And then I had to make a very hard decision. And as much as I love Disney, And again, I went throughout this entire process thinking I wasn't good enough to work for Disney, even the college program. But now they were even telling me, oh no, we want you to be here permanently. Stick it out. What you say you have degrees in safety? We'll find a way.
Right.
But
Well, you would think that education would be very useful at a giant theme park, safety systems and things like that, right?
Oh yeah, out of all the companies I've worked for, Disney, I'd have to say, was probably the most on point and had some of the healthiest safety culture that I've ever seen.
Right.
Like, and that's not just me just trying to be nice. No, I'm saying, like, you would think big corporation, they wouldn't care. No, they care a lot about guest safety, cast member safety. Like, so the fact that they wanted to keep me around for their safety program, I felt very honored, because I'm like, all right, I have the stuff to make it at Disney, and I didn't close the door completely. I made the decision to come home because one of the things that I liked growing up was having my grandparents around with me, and I wanted my kids to have the same experience. And I always said I either wanted to work at Disney or, make enough of a decent enough living to where I can go to Disney as much as I like and bring my kids there. So pretty much that's what I kind of did. I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave this door open. I still have the guy that he wrote his number down and everything to give him a call. I still have that number, but
wow.
I decided my bayou roots are too deep to leave.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. I mean, we live in a world now where I guess most people, my sense is most people no longer stay in one job for very long. Like, there's a lot of moving from company to company and job to job, a lot more transient working. And so I guess starting out and knowing you can always go back, if the bug, if you catch the bug to go back, having that contact is really cool. Were you on Main Street your entire time, or were there other areas that you got to work in?
Well, here's the funny part about that. Technically, I was supposed to be on Main Street the entire time, but I had an incident when I was working at Disney that I was pulling a trash bag that was supposed to be full of a certain kind of trash, but it was full of something else, and it was very heavy, so I kind of took out my back for 2 weeks. Oof. So I got to be on light duty, which pretty much meant that I got to go be like an exit greeter and an assistant shopper at the Pirates of the Caribbean, which I thought was great because Pirates of the Caribbean is my favorite ride.
Oh,
I love pirate stuff a lot. I have a full-on pirate costume. I write as a hobby about pirate stuff I call Sea Tales. So the fact that I got to go do that was really fun. And that was I also worked at Cinderella's Castle for a little bit. Like, these 2 weeks I was on light duty, I kind of just got bounced around. But my main thing was Main Street.
So does Main Street, like, does that include, like, the hub and, like, Cinderella's Castle, like, from Cinderella's Castle, like, to the entrance? Is that all Main Street, or is it just, like, the strip with, like, the stores and everything?
Well, Main Street pretty much counts, from Cinderella's Castle, but it goes all the way to the Ticket and Transportation Center.
Oh, wow.
Is technically where my jurisdiction was of where I could get assigned to either stay on Main Street or the Ticket and Transportation Center, which I did not care for the Ticket and Transportation Center because I'm a people person. I like to talk to people. And when you're on Main Street, you want to go talk to guests and make jokes and all that. It's like, hey, how you doing? How you enjoying your vacation? People are like, oh, we're loving it. Oh, we're about to go on Splash Mountain. But Ticket and Transportation Center, either they're going to the park or they're leaving the park. And it's like, hey, how's your day? Leave me alone. I'm going to take a nap.
Right. People are like angsty.
Yeah, so it's like, fair. I'll leave you be. I'll just go back to what I'm doing. So I'd mostly just clean. And I kept getting assigned there. And I'm like, why? And one time, one of the supervisors was like, yeah, because all the bathrooms are super clean when you work here. I'm like, it's because that's all I have to do.
Right.
I can't talk to people. They don't want to talk. So I just clean the
and,
bathroom.
and you can't really talk to them when they're in the bathroom. That would be kind of weird.
that'd be a
That's
little
not
weird.
good customer service. Like, hey, excuse me, sir, are you knocking on the stall? Are you enjoying your vacation? Is everything going well for you in there today? Can I get you some more paper? How are you doing? Right. So no, that would be awkward, I imagine.
Yeah, so I just stick to my job, and that's why they kept sending me back.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm just there like, no, stop it, please.
Yeah,
I
the
want to
sad
be on
fact
Main Street.
the sad fact of the matter is I'm probably closer to retirement than I am to the beginning of my career. And there are days, and I love my job, don't get me wrong, but there are days where I sort of daydream about my retirement, and I keep thinking, man, I would love to be the guy in the custodial costume drawing the pictures on Main Street for kids with the broom and cleaning up, because I just think, I don't know. I think there are a lot of people, especially people who've gone to Disney World or Disneyland or any Disney park really, that appreciate the job that the custodial cast members do probably more than any other place they visit that is also being cleaned by custodians in some way, shape, or form. Probably not as well, right, in many instances as it is at Disney, but there's a real appreciation, I think, among people who love Disney for the job that you did, and for people who continue to work in that role do. So maybe, would you be able to share maybe some, from the perspective of a cast member in general, and maybe even a custodial cast member, if you were talking to guest members or potential guests about what they could do to either make the job of the cast member easier or to show their appreciation for the job that the cast member is doing, what kind of advice would you give guests?
Well, the first thing I would have to say is, and this is something that actually happened to me twice, don't try to give them money, because we couldn't accept money, and Disney does pay us pretty well, so just don't try to give them money, because that's one of those things that's kind of like a touchy subject,
right,
for a lot of people. I remember one time I was like, no sir, please, thank you, I appreciate it. He literally was trying to shove it in my shirt pocket, and I'm like, one, don't touch me. Two,
Right.
two, like, I don't. So yeah, that's one thing that I'd say, just don't do that. But as for the ways you can show your appreciation, just go talk to them, tell them about what you appreciate about, how things are being kept clean or whatever they're doing. If they're doing a really good job, go tell them.
Mm-hmm.
There's some little things. There was literally a person, this is something I'm going to do because I'm going in October, who basically had little business cards, and they would hand them to cast members when they pass by or talk to them a little bit. It was just a little thank you note for all that they do and that they appreciate the magic they create. Those are some of the great ways I'd honestly say that would be some of the best ways you can show your appreciation of the cast members. Just go tell them, talk to them. For custodial cast members, if you get the bubble wand things, one favor you could do for us is the packaging that comes in, crush it down a little bit. Because that was one thing that when I would see someone purchase a bubble wand and the box, like 3 boxes would fill up a trash can and have to go take it out. I'm just like, these are just 3 boxes.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not a big deal, but that's one of those things that's like, if you could crush that, we'd appreciate it.
I can imagine. So as you're explaining the thing about a guy trying to put a tip in your pocket, I can't help but imagine that scene in Monsters Inc. when it has the sock on his back and they had the that you come in from your shift and someone spots a tip in your pocket and they're like, prepare for decontamination, and they tie you up and they have to decontaminate the tip because you're not supposed to have it. I don't know why. That just struck me as humorous.
I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about?
I could see
in
it.
Monsters Inc. But I don't know. That's so. You had a question?
Understand. Well, it's a question. I understand the idea of like giving a tip because like I know that it's really important, but like I feel like in a Disney World or Disneyland setting, like does it feel like awkward to like go to somebody like here's some money for like what you're doing? Like I just feel like there's other ways to like show appreciation than just like giving a tip in that way. I don't know. I just like I don't know. Something about that feels like off to me.
Well, it
Like
feels
that
like
interaction feels weird.
well, it's almost as if the currency that a cast member, unless you are working in merchandising or food sales, like where your job is to literally collect money from someone, right? That the currency is just kindness. The currency is kindness. Yeah. And that makes good sense. Those are
Yeah.
great tips. And
Oh,
so
there's one more thing though. I
yeah,
just
go
I just remembered.
ahead.
On Twitter, if you have a Twitter account, there is a link you can look up, essentially like a cast member compliment, where you post, maybe take a picture with a cast member or just say this cast member and get their name, and that can actually do really good to boosting them. It really feels great when you get one, and you get a little recognition. They'll print out the tweet and give it to you. So that's also another thing that I would say would be a great way to show your appreciation.
That's
That
really cool.
just remember that.
If you have that, you send it to
I
us.
think it's a hashtag. It was like a hashtag.
We can find
a
it.
hashtag.
Yeah, cast. I think it's called cast compliment or something like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cast compliments. I'll send you the link. I'll send it through email.
Yeah, great. Yeah, because we're planning to go to a Disney park hopefully sometime soon.
Yeah.
And we definitely want to do that. And the card idea is a really good one. I think
That is a good one.
we would love to do that. I'd
Are
want to be
cast members allowed to take cards? Is that, like,
Yes.
a thing? Okay.
Like little tokens like that is fine. It was more of a monetary thing was
Yeah.
encouraged.
Like
Like
a
monetary. Because that almost comes off a little bit like a bribe.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
That's
I've-
why it felt off to me, because
right,
it felt
yeah.
like a bribe. Now
Yeah.
it makes
It's
sense.
like,
Yeah.
hey buddy, I want to get in front of the line. Here's $20.
Right. I've heard rumors or stories from that, people offered cast members lots of money for fast passes and things like that. And they're like, no, I can't. I mean, I don't know if some of them may have taken it or not. I don't know, but no, I can see how that would not be aligned with the Disney values.
Yeah.
No.
With Disney values. And you also have to be careful, I guess, with the cards, because as I'm envisioning that, there's a fine line between, something that says, thank you, and that's also a solicitation. So like, yeah, here's a thank you card, but on the other side is my business, information.
Oh yeah.
I
think they just did it on business cards. So that was just like a simple way
right.
of
Yeah.
handing it out because it's small, it's compact, and it's a little easier. So, yeah. As for if you'd have it on the other side, like, oh, here's my business thing. Now that would be a problem.
Right.
Just make sure that if you do the card thing, that you just have on one side just the thank you. Don't try to flip it over and be like, oh, here's my lawn care business.
Right. That sounds good.
That
So
is
what?
a cool idea.
So I imagine you probably have some stories you can share and maybe some things that you can't share, which is cool. You certainly don't feel pressured to say anything or share anything that you're not comfortable sharing. That would be fine. But I'm sure there may be some stories that you recall about just really wonderful, magical moments that you were involved in, or maybe something that you witnessed that sort of really, as you're involved in that or witnessing it, you're saying to yourself, wow, this is exactly why I'm glad I'm doing this. This is a perfect example of the Disney magic going on right in front of me. Do you have any of those stories?
I have two examples of those kind of stories. The first one would be something that I used to do a lot was and it's sad they don't have this anymore. You know the Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom game?
I'm familiar with it. We didn't do it, but I know what you're talking about. Yes.
I had a ton of cards from all my trips. So when I went to Disney, I made it a thing because I was on Main Street, and Main Street has a lot of the portals, or had a lot of the portals now. I would go and surprise kids and hand them extra cards.
Oh, cool.
And these kids loved it because to them it felt like a secret.
Yeah.
Right.
Secret magical thing that would happen. And these kids would go nuts for the most random things. I remember one time I was I fanned out the cards, and this kid had 4 Pumbaa cards. And he's like, can I have the Pumbaa card? I was like, sure. And the parent's like, I don't get it. He has so many Pumbaa cards. I don't know why, but it made him so happy. I was like, hey, you want an extra Pumbaa card? He's like, oh, can I? Yes, you can have enough. You know what? I have 3. Here you go. And then,
that's great.
So that was something I'd love to do. If it was a kid's birthday, they wouldn't just get a card. I'd be like, take a little chunk. Here you go. Here's like 5. Here's 10. How old are you? You just turned 8. Here's 8 cards. There you
Oh,
go.
wow. That's awesome.
And the funny thing was, one of the cast members who does the Sorcerer of the Magic Kingdom thing caught me while I was doing this. And she was like, wait, are you handing out cards? Where are you getting these cards? Like, oh, these are all a bunch of spares I have. She's like, follow me. She takes me inside the firehouse, hands me a bunch of packs and says, whenever you're low, just come over here.
Oh, wow.
Come over here and just do this because this is great.
That's awesome.
That's so cute.
And I would just like, so that from that point on, if it was your birthday, you got just a pack. Here you go, random pack of cards.
That's cool.
And
That's
that was one of the things that I would just continue to do throughout my thing. I would just make a lot of magic for kids, and I loved it. To see their faces light up, and especially, you know, the parents be like, oh, thank you, this is so great. Oh, it's my kid's birthday. My kid's been having a rough time at school. This really is brightening up. I haven't seen my kid smile in a while. That was like, because for me, I loved Disney so much because school was rough for me with my learning disability. Disney was a place where I could go and just not think about it, enjoy it. Hell, even knowing that Walt was someone like me, it was a place I could go be like, wow, maybe one day I could do something like this, or at least do something.
Right.
So to know that I was doing the same thing for kids, I really enjoyed that.
Cool.
And then the second thing that I would do that I would say that brought a lot of magic was, so since I was on Main Street, when they would have the fireworks show end, they would open up 2 extra pathways because that was what we used to call the Great Guest Exodus. Because after the last fireworks show, a lot of people's opinion is, okay, my kid is tired, or you know what, I'm tired, and like to just go back to the hotel, go back to wherever, and just like go take a nap, whatever.
Yeah.
And one of the things they would have was they had one area that was made up to be a guest kind of area, still on stage, because, you know, on stage, off stage.
Right.
Where we would go and interact with our boss and get our stuff and everything. And they'd set up orange cones backstage to go from right where Casey's Corner's bathroom is at, all the way to Main Street next to the firehouse. Now, we would sometimes get assigned to try to keep the guest inside the orange cones because they couldn't step outside the orange cones. So after a while of doing this, a mixture of just being bored because it wasn't that fun and noticing that guests would just kind of wander.
Right.
I was like, okay, how can I make this somewhat entertaining? So I would start from the beginning and be like, welcome everybody. Welcome to your free backstage tour. Yes, I said free Disney backstage tour. If you step outside the orange cones, you will have to pay $175 just like everybody else. And I would just continue on making jokes. Like, if you see over there, we see that is painted the famous Go Away Green. It is painted that way because we believe that it makes it go away. As you obviously see, it doesn't. Don't tell any of the Imagineers, you'll make them cry. And I would just go throughout the entire thing and make jokes all up and down, basically, you know, Carnival Barking. I get my other cast members to interact. One of the ones that really hit a lot was, now if you look over here, you see our prototype audio animatronic cast members. Say hi, Tim. And my friend Tim would be like, hi, Tim. After 7 months of programming, that's all we could get him to say. Watch this. Hey, Tim, what's your favorite color? Hi, Tim. Yep, that's why we keep them backstage. And I would continue doing this, and guests would love it. They'd laugh so hard. I'd entertain like 500 people at a time making these jokes. And one of the funniest things is people would go on their breaks backstage eating their lunch, watching me make these jokes and all. And I'm just there having a good time. I love to entertain people, so I'm just yelling at all these jokes. Yeah, you get to see the magic of backstage cardboard. Yes, at one time, either held your merchandise, your food, or any other thing you might have had here. I'm just there making all these jokes. Now, and at the end, I'd always say when I'd get to the end, because I'd go the entire time, and then I'd walk back and start it all over again. When I get to the end, I'd be like, okay, folks, if you enjoyed your time here, I'm Luke with custodial cast members here on Main Street, and this was your free Disney Backstage Tour. If you did not enjoy your time here, I am Skipper Josh, and this has been the world famous Jungle Cruise. Which was hilarious because that was my roommate.
Oh, nice. Very nice. I can imagine you're showing them these things and people are like flashing pictures. Like their phones are out and they're taking pictures of all the cardboard. Like, oh, look, it's Backstage cardboard.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Like one time I literally had guests like taking pictures of the golf carts. I'm like, here's the famous Disney golf carts. And like some husband and wife duo are just like, oh, look at that, Cheryl. It's a famous Disney. I never even heard of these things. And I'm just like,
That's great.
I think it's so funny and interesting how Disney like gives people the power to just like completely forget that like things function, you know? Like
oh, yeah.
like adults will walk in and they'll be and it's just like completely forget that there's like a backstage and an underground tunnels and that characters aren't actually characters. Like it just feels like that's so interesting. Like the golf cart thing, I feel like that just kind of proves it. Like of course there's golf carts. The park is huge.
Well, what's also interesting is what you did was you prompted them to make up a story in their head about what was really going on.
Right.
And then the imagination of the guest takes over and they fill in all the blanks. And all of a sudden they're involved in a story that's being told they're really running with. Like they're just being prompted and being shown here this we're going to give you the setting, you fill in the story, right? So the golf cart thing is like, oh, wait, maybe an executive rode that golf cart today. Oh, I don't know, did Mickey ride that golf cart? I don't know, maybe he did, I don't know. So it's just really, that's just fantastic. That's good. So let me ask you a question, since you bring up, I mean, a lot of this is improvised, but I know that Disney goes through, you did a lot of training. In your training, do they sort of help train you to start to think on your feet a little bit more, or how to improvise situations, or is part of the screening process just trying to figure out, is this the kind of person that can think on their feet and come up with something? Because I know in my job, there are people that are extraordinarily literal. I mean, you have to tell them exactly what you want them to do, because they don't have their strength is not in figuring things out on their feet, thinking on their feet. And then there are other people that are very good at that. You have to give them very little prompting and they just sort of pick up on it and go. So as part of the process of being hired, is this something that they do some training in, or like role playing, or is this something that they try to figure out about a candidate before they actually arrive?
Well, that is something they do. Like when I was when I did the phone call and they asked me about like stuff with the being an attractions cast member, like they do try to like gauge with you to see if you could work with that. And that's really it. They try to like see who are people, like people, like
right.
A people person is what they try to do. They don't really do any training on, unless you're going to like work at the Jungle Cruise or something. The rest of it, like that was all me, because I like to do comedy. I like to make jokes. I used to go to open mics at college and I would do amateur comedy. So that was more of a me thing than them. And they encourage you though to interact, but then sometimes you don't really know where the line is. Like when I would do that whole spiel, like the second or third time I was doing that, I look on the other side and it's not just regular cast members looking at me. Two of the managers are looking at me, and all I could think is, have I told any off-color jokes? Have I done anything wrong? Oh God, this is where it ends.
Right.
I get fired. I'm losing my ears. It's all going away. After the whole thing was done, they came up to me, and it's funny because these people work at Disney, but they were like almost like when you think of like that corporate suit kind of person, just nonchalantly coming up to me like, "Hey, what you did there? That was funny. Do it again." And then just walked away, and I'm like, I thought I was in trouble.
Hey, we need to talk. Do
All
it
right.
again.
Right. You got your thumbs up, right? You get the old what did Walt, when he approved of something, he just gave the thumbs up and
moved on,
right? So
The
you got the thumbs up.
only time I ever got in trouble for something, and it's not like a bad thing, was I used to be able to do a really good impression of Mickey Mouse. And one time I did it on stage, and then afterwards, similar kind of managers came up to me and was like, "Hey, we heard that impression. That was a very good Walt era Mickey Mouse." I was like, "Oh, thank you." Never do that again on stage. We cannot have any confusion that anybody else would be Mickey Mouse. I was like, "Oh, okay."
Right.
Never mind. Message
Because
received.
there's only one. Right.
That's true. There can only be one Mickey.
Is the cast member admissions process like an audition, like the way that like actor auditions? I don't know. I phrase that so poorly, but I feel like you got what I'm trying to say. Is it like an audition or is it like a normal job interview?
Well, it was a normal job interview, but if you want to do something like attractions or entertainment, you will have to go, and they have like places set up all over the country to where you can audition, which they might have changed. They might be changing it up now with, post pandemic with all the Zoom stuff and all, because I would think it would be way more convenient to do it kind of like how we're doing it right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like previously, pretty much, if you were going to go try for one of the more entertainment-esque jobs, then you would partially have to audition. But that would be something that would happen after the phone interview. Pretty much if you passed that step, then they'd be like, okay, we're going to put you in a little bit more to see just in case. And if not, we'll switch you to something else.
Yeah.
Cool. So we've talked to Luke, a cast member, Mimi. So let's spend some time, Luke, talking to Luke, just the Disney fan, right?
Okay.
The guy who just loves Disney and loves the parks and everything else. And so which park at Disney World, if one of those is your favorite? Well, let me ask this. Have you been to any of the other Disney theme parks besides Disney World?
Disneyland when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And one day me and my wife want to go to Tokyo Disneyland and Disney Seas because those look amazing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty much been Disney World. It's 40 times, well, 41 now because I count the workation as one giant trip.
Right.
But yeah, it's been 40 times at Disney World, one time at Disneyland.
And what is your favorite gate of the 4 gates there? Which is your favorite?
I'd have to say that to put them in order, it's Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Animal Kingdom, then Hollywood Studios.
And do you have sort of what are your go-to must-do attractions when what are the ones that you usually cannot not do?
Well, I have to do Space Mountain. I have to do the Carousel of Progress. I have to do Pirates of the Caribbean. I have to do Jungle Cruise. Those are some of my must-dos at Magic Kingdom. And if I can and remember, try to go to Tom Sawyer's Island at some point.
We were talking about Tom Sawyer's Island, another podcast friend of ours that was reimagining Tom Sawyer's Island, and they asked Mimi and I about it, and I just was like, they should just have like Rush playing a soundtrack on Tom Sawyer's Island, right? It should be a Rush soundtrack. But what about the other parks? Do you have a favorite attraction at Epcot when you're at Epcot?
Well, at Epcot, my favorite attraction is Living with the Land. It's really chilled out. I don't know why. I think it's just so relaxed. I also just like the Land Pavilion. Oddly enough, I'm one of those people who's not a huge fan of Soarin'. I don't hate it, but it's just like, it's one of those things that I could skip.
Right.
Yeah, I could take it.
Yeah. And then, like, Test Track, though I prefer the original Test Track, I don't like Tron Track. Because I feel like it took away a lot of the soul of it. Right. And every time I would do it for the, like, the custom car thing, I would literally just go to the cast member and be like, hey, can I just not do this? Because it doesn't even work half the time.
Right.
It doesn't affect anything. So can I just bypass this? I'll just go through that door. I won't tell anybody. I work here. Like, pull out my name tag. I work here. I'm one of you. It's fine.
One of you, man. Come on. You have the secret password. We changed the password last year.
But yeah, I really liked Tron. And then in Epcot, I just like to also just go in the World Showcase. I prefer Maelstrom. I don't hate the Frozen adaptation of it. I like the Mexico ride. Just like to have a good time in there. I used to love the Ellen's Energy Adventure. because I was still a huge dinosaur fan. It was like the only dinosaur ride in Disney for like ever.
Right.
So that was also something I really liked.
Cool. What about Animal Kingdom?
Animal Kingdom would have to be Expedition Everest, and I'm old enough to remember pre-Disco Yeti.
Oh, yeah.
I remember the time where it actually moved. But also like Dinosaur and Cali River Rapids, and I love the ride, Flight of Passage and Pandora. Actually, one of the things I used to go to Animal Kingdom a lot just because of Pandora, because of the beef bowl they have there was like really delicious and well priced. I had like 2 things I ate so much that I'm surprised I just didn't turn into salmon or a beef bowl. Because at Columbia Harbor House, I would go and get the salmon with double green beans because I hated couscous. I just couldn't get behind it, so I just get double green beans, and it's like $18. So like, this is great.
That's a good meal.
And it was really fun to go to the Harbor House because almost no one knows there's an upstairs.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's where the bathroom is. So I would just get my food and go upstairs. And I could almost hear like guests downstairs like, "Where's a table? I can't find a table." I'm just there like sitting, watching people through the window, just eating my salmon and eating my green beans, going like, "Where's the table? So many empty."
Plenty of tables up here. Yeah, there you go. So when was the last time? I mean, do all the in Hollywood Studios going through a big transformation in recent years? Have you been there and been to Toy Story Land and Galaxy's Edge or any of that?
You see, that was one of the things. I only went to Hollywood Studios once during my entire program because they had so many things closed down and everything else. And this was right after I had hurt my back, and this was like after I finally had healed and all that. So I could really go back and enjoy and that was the only time I had like a not so great time there. Like, I rode Tower of Terror twice. I watched the Path of the Jedi show, and that was kind of it. Like, Star Tours, there were so many people. I got a fast pass for Rock and Roller Coaster, and when I got there, the fast pass line was 70 minutes.
Oh, wow.
I got an ice cream sundae, a brownie ice cream sundae, which I will never forget because the brownie was a puck. I could have played hockey with it, and it was on the side. Like, they didn't even put the ice cream on top so it could maybe soak up into the thing. And Hollywood Studios is not known for great food either.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially at the time, since a lot of things were closed. So that was kind of like, nope, you know what? I've done it once. I'll come back here when things are open.
Right.
So I can't wait to go this October and actually go see all that stuff.
Right.
That would be great. We'd love to hear your report on that because, we do a Disney podcast and we've been to Disney parks.
We haven't been in since the new era.
We've been to Disneyland most recently, but the last time we were at Disney World, I mean, Mimi was 6 years old.
5 or 6.
Yeah, 5, 6 years old. So there was no Toy Story Land. There was no Galaxy's Edge. It was still the Great Movie Ride. It wasn't the Minnie and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Pandora was not
Pandora
at
didn't
Animal
exist.
Kingdom yet. I don't believe.
It wasn't even under construction.
Well, it may have been under construction.
It was I don't think so.
I don't remember.
It was pre-Pandora. It was before the Avatar movie came out.
Yeah, I don't remember much of our Animal Kingdom
day. A long
day
time ago.
because when the kids were real little, I mean, we didn't do Everest. We didn't do those things with them. We didn't do dinosaurs. So it was.
Well, yeah, we had the
petting zoo
toddlers
and the safari and that kind of. Which the safari's great. We did the Rapids ride. We did the little Kali River Rapids.
Yeah, unpopular opinion. I love the Rapids rides.
I like the Rapids rides too.
I like the Rapid ride. Would that be considered an unpopular opinion?
I think so.
I've heard people
say that they would rather do Splash Mountain than the Rapids rides.
Some people don't
I
like
like
getting
the
wet.
Rapids.
So.
Like the one in Disneyland, California Adventure.
The Grizzly River Run.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
so
essentially
fun.
It's very similar. So.
I'm actually a little surprised because I've never heard that. I've heard things like people are like, why do people go to the Hall of Presidents, or why do people do the Carousel of Progress? It's like because
you
of
have to do the
condition.
Carousel of Progress. That's why you go on it.
Right.
Because you have to.
That's true.
It's required.
What's your so we have a few few questions we like to ask guests when we remember to ask them. Sometimes we forget to ask these questions. So, what is you mentioned Space Mountain. What is your favorite mountain of all the Disney mountain ranges? What's your favorite? What's that? Space Mountain?
I'm a huge sci-fi buff. I've always been. My favorite show of all time is Stargate, SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
Like, huge into Star Wars. Just science fiction has always been a thing for me. So, Space Mountain, I'd have to say, is my favorite of the mountains. Like, I love all the mountains equally.
Right.
For the most part. But if I have to pick one, Space.
That's the correct answer. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a big Thunder Mountain guy. Yeah, that's my favorite. I like Space Mountain too, but I prefer Big Thunder Mountain.
When was the last time you went on Space Mountain?
Me?
Yeah. Because you didn't ride it when we were in Disneyland.
My honeymoon 20 years ago. But it was okay. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it was fine. Space Mountain's fine.
That's the correct answer though. Okay.
What about dark ride? What's your favorite dark ride?
Pirates.
That's also the correct answer.
Right. What about one with just like the Omni Mover instead of the log ride type? What would be your next favorite dark ride?
Trying to think there. Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was thinking too. I was about to say it's okay to say Haunted Mansion.
Like Haunted Mansion would have to be it. I know it feels like a basic answer, but hey.
No, it's good.
Like it's stood the test of time, so it's obviously doing something right. Do you like the overlays, like the Christmas Halloween overlays for Haunted Mansion?
I don't think they do those at Disney World.
They don't do them at Disney World, which I'm kind of glad because I don't not like them in concept, but the fact that they will do the overlay for like Christmas stuff during Halloween, I kind of wish they would just wait till November to do that because it kind of feels like if I ever go to Disneyland during Halloween season and it's like I want to ride the Haunted Mansion because it's the spooky time of year, that's the spooky ride, and I see Santa Claus Jack Skellington, it's like, no, that's not what I want to see right now.
See, like that movie is a Halloween movie, but like they pick the parts of the movie that are the Christmas parts. Like you have to pick the Halloween parts for the Halloween part and then change it to the Christmas parts for the Christmas season.
I think it's appropriate.
I don't like that it stays for it's like the whole like 90 days of like this overlay, and it only like in November it doesn't fit at all. It's like, why is this here?
I understand why they don't do the overlays in Florida, and one of the reasons I heard was because there's so many international travelers and so many people for whom they've waited their whole lives as their only trip, that they want them to have the original experience for everything, as opposed to Disneyland where it's a lot of locals, not as much. I mean, they get international travelers obviously, but it's not nearly the same profile of visitor consistently as there is in Florida. And
I think if I remember correctly, when I was working there, they used to say that basically the numbers were inverted, that in Florida, it's 80% international first-time guests and just like people coming from all over and 20% local. And then you go to Disneyland, it's 80% local, 20% international first-time guests and everything else.
Yeah.
So that's why they try to preserve at Disney World to have, they learned that the hard way with like when they did that overlay of the castle to make it a cake.
Right. Yeah.
Like to this day, people still make fun of that.
Yeah, for the anniversary or whatever.
Yeah, it was
that
pretty.
We're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, it was pink. It was like pink, and it looked like icing everywhere. And
that was a weird.
We just did an episode on the differences between Disneyland and Disney World. Not that we were picking one better than the other, but like if you were a family, depending on what your context was, which location might be better suited for what you wanted to do, right? And so, like for example, we were saying if you had small children and thrill rides weren't really that important to you, Disneyland would be perfectly fine because they're more dark ride and I would say kid friendly things in a closer area, right? It wasn't so spread out and things like that. But so I can imagine. So here's a question we ask guests: would you rather be a Jedi or an Avenger?
Jedi.
See, most people say that.
Most people say that because like Jedi is just like the better answer, Like I'm a big Marvel fan. I love the MC. That's really cool.
Oh, there you go.
I bought this when I was working there. This was one of the first things I bought, and I wore it all the time.
That's awesome.
So this has to be my answer. My
Right.
name is also Luke. I don't have much of a choice in it.
Right.
That's
Yeah, I have a
great.
couple of my little souvenirs from Disney with me. Just the thought for a good visual reference.
Yeah, I think we both said Jedi too, because
Yeah.
logically, I
Like
guess
an
in
Avenger-
theory, a Jedi could be an Avenger if they lived in the same universe, but an Avenger could not necessarily be a Jedi if they lived in the same universe. So that'd be our thing. What else do we normally ask people?
We also ask like who your favorite like character is.
Yeah, favorite character. Do you have a favorite Disney character?
That's a hard one.
Yeah,
But
that is a hard one.
Goofy, I'd have
Yeah.
to say. I really liked Goofy. He's one of my favorites. I really like a lot of the cartoons with Goofy and everything. Like, I have to say, if I have to pick one in particular, if you want me to go more modern, I'd probably say Moana, but we're talking more just classic out of the Fab Five Goofy.
That's fair.
Yeah.
What about Disney movie, either animated, live action? Do you have a favorite one that, if it's on, you'll stop and watch it no matter what, or at least parts of it?
I like a lot of the classics. Probably when y'all might know this one, y'all might not. Blackbeard's Ghost.
Yeah, I know what that is. I've heard of
Okay.
that.
Like, that one is probably one of my favorites Disney movies of all time.
Yeah.
It's old school. I used to watch that. We'd go camping a lot at Disney at the grounds, and we'd watch. We'd go to the movie nights, and that was when they'd play a lot. I loved it. I love that it's on Disney Plus. I could watch it. If they ever decide to remake it, I will always say that if Jack Black is not Blackbeard, don't do it.
Yeah.
Because he's
I don't think
pretty
anyone's
much
ever
like.
did. That's good.
That's a good one. It's always like the old classic, like just original kind of underground movies that are like completely underrated
Yep, that's true.
for sure.
But I like that one. Every once in a while, I'll watch the Davy Crockett, the two Davy Crockett movies. That's one of the things I love about Disney Plus is you could watch a lot of these older movies that were always harder to find
Yeah.
because you always had to find them on DVD, and those were Disney is not great at releasing a lot of stuff on DVD. I know it took forever for them to freaking put on Gargoyles on DVD, and and they distributed them pretty bad because I remember the only one I could find was like I found the first one. I could never find season 2, except my sister once found it like in Baton Rouge. There was one copy at a Walmart, and she's just like next day is like, "Hey Luke, didn't you like Gargoyles?" "Yeah." "Oh, I found season 2 on DVD." I'm like, "Where?" "In Baton Rouge at a Walmart." "Which Walmart? Where? Give me the location. I need to know." "Oh, there's one left. It's probably not there anymore." "How much was it?" "Like $15. You have a cell phone. You didn't think like, "Hey Luke, I'll buy this for you. Pay me back."
Right.
But now
But
I have everything on Disney Plus. I'm still
Right.
I like that the assumption is that it wouldn't be there anymore. It's like there's a run on season 2 of Gargoyles in the for sale DVD section of Walmart. Get there quickly before the other person gets it, right?
The one other person that's looking for the season 2 of
No,
Gargoyles.
that's all good. Yeah, Disney Plus has been great for us because all those things that we've loved watching, that I love watching as a kid, and I'm, older than you.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel good. As a matter of fact, the other night I just, for the heck of it, nothing was going on. I just put Robin Hood on and just started watching Robin Hood.
I was doing
It was
homework.
like,
I was gonna
okay.
watch it with you, but I was doing homework.
Yeah.
I like Disney Plus. I think it's extremely convenient, and I really like that it has Gravity Falls on it. But that's kind of all I watch on Gravity Falls on Disney Plus. Literally, Gravity Falls.
I'm a huge Gravity Falls fan.
I love Gravity Falls so much.
Yeah.
You have the journal?
It's constant. I don't, but I always wanted them. I just like, I don't know. I never got them, but I asked for them every year, and then they would always get me like this, like one of the weird like different ones. 'Cause you know how they made like the journals, and then they made like this like kind of side series of like notes. They always give me like the weird notebooks and not like the actual journals. And then yeah, I just kind of watch Gravity Falls on a loop. But I do miss I kind of miss my old we lived in Virginia, so there's like a basement in our house because like tornadoes or whatever, I don't know. But there was a basement in our house, and Mom would send me down there for quiet time every day. It's just like an hour for her to be like left alone because like my brother would be napping and I didn't nap because I was obnoxious. So he would nap and she would send me down for quiet time. And I had to like learn how to use like the VHS player like by myself. Like I had absolutely no help. And I kind of miss like putting in like like Aristocats, like sort of the zone in my little like VHS player. Who has Aristocats on VHS?
I had Aristocats on VHS.
I kind of miss that, but Disney Plus is really convenient because now I can just again watch Gravity Falls on a loop
It's great
all the
stuff.
time every day.
Great stuff. So Luke, thanks a lot for being with us today. This was tons of fun. We really, really enjoyed the conversation. We laughed, we learned, and it's been magical. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I love being on the show. I'd be on the show anytime.
Absolutely. So yeah, when you get back from your trip, shoot me an email. Perhaps we can reconnect and get a post-trip report on how things went for you guys. It would be really cool to get your opinion about some of the stuff that you weren't able to see last time you were there.
Yeah, I'd love to give you an update.
Great. Thanks. All right, Luke, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Anytime,
You got
man.
it.